traditions didn't start with a god, but with a man asking a single, incredibly sharp question. Today, we're going to dive into the story of the Buddha, a guy who faced a problem we all face and said, "Hey, I think I found a way out." I mean, that's it, right? That's the fundamental human question. And it's the very thing that drove a completely pampered prince out of his palace and onto a journey that would literally change the world. So where did this all kick off? You might think a story like this would start in poverty or some kind of hardship, but nope. It begins in a world of almost unimaginable comfort. Okay, so you gotta picture this. Siddhartha was born into the Shakya clan, a warrior tribe in what's now Nepal. His father was an elected chief, and Siddhartha was basically raised in a bubble, completely shielded from anything unpleasant in life. He even said it himself, "I lived a very spoiled life." But, a bubble like that can't last forever. When he finally ventured outside the palace walls, he saw four things that just completely shattered his reality. He saw an old man, a sick person, and a corpse. And for the first time it hit him, aging, illness, and death, they come for everyone, no exceptions. But then he saw the fourth sight, this calm, wandering ascetic, and that planted a tiny seed of hope. Maybe, just maybe, there was an answer to this universal problem. This whole experience uncovered a core idea, dukkha. Now, we often translate it as suffering, but it's way more subtle than that. Think of it as that deep background hum of dissatisfaction, that feeling that even when things are good, they're not quite right, because they won't last. Siddhartha realized this unease was just part of the deal, even for a prince who had everything. So, faced with this massive, profound problem, Siddhartha makes a radical decision. He's not going to ignore it. He's going to solve it. Can you just imagine the weight of that choice? He literally walked away from absolute power, all the money in the world, his wife, his brand new son, all of it, just to find an answer to human suffering. We're told his parents, quote, wept with tearful faces when he left. It was a huge deal. But yeah, the answer didn't exactly come easy. For years, Siddhartha tried out the two main paths that spiritual seekers took back then: the life of total sensual indulgence he'd already known, and its complete opposite, a life of just severe, hardcore self-denial. And he pushed his body to the absolute limit. He practiced intense breath control and barely ate until he was pretty much just a skeleton. But this path of self-torture, it didn't lead to wisdom, it just led to weakness. So neither extreme had worked. Having tried both extremes and failed, Siddhartha was at a total dead end. But, as it often happens, it was in this moment of near despair that a completely new path started to open up. After a village girl gave him a simple meal of rice and milk, he got his strength back. And it was then he realized the answer wasn't in extremes at all, but in a balanced state of mind. So he sat down under what would become the famous Bodhi tree and basically vowed, "I'm not getting up until I find the truth." And there, in that deep meditation, everything clicked. He didn't become a god or anything like that. He simply woke up to how reality actually works. From that moment on, he wasn't Siddhartha, the prince, anymore. He was the Buddha, the awakened one. So what did he achieve? Nirvana. Now, this isn't a place like heaven. It's a state of being. The word literally means to extinguish, like blowing out a candle. What's being extinguished are those mental fires, the craving, the anger, the confusion, that keep fueling that cycle of dukkha. So what was this huge discovery? What was the practical, real-world solution he could now teach to everybody else? His core discovery was really a total reframing of the problem. He realized the path to freedom wasn't about getting every single thing you want, nor was it about denying yourself everything. It was a balanced, mindful path right down the middle. He laid out his teaching in this incredibly clear and logical way, a lot like a doctor. First, the diagnosis. Life involves dukkha. Second, the cause. It comes from craving and attachment. Third, the prognosis. Hey, good news, it's possible to end this suffering. And fourth, the prescription, which is the Noble Eightfold Path. This is the practical how-to guide for walking that middle way. It's like a complete training program for your mind. It covers everything from right understanding, which is just seeing things as they really are, to right speech, speaking truthfully and kindly, all the way to right mindfulness, which is the practice of being totally present. It's the whole shebang. But finding the answer?
While that was only the beginning. The next big chapter was all about sharing it.
For the next 45 years, the Buddha just walked across the plains of India, teaching anyone who would listen. He taught kings and servants, merchants and murderers. He made his insights accessible to every single person, no matter who they were. And to make sure his teachings wouldn't just be lost to time, he started the Sangha, a community of monks and later nuns who were dedicated to living this path. It was this community that carried his ideas from a little corner of India to the rest of Asia and eventually the entire world. His final words really just sum up the whole message perfectly. Sankharas just means all the things that are put together. Basically everything. So he's saying, look, everything changes. Everything falls apart. So don't waste time, be diligent, work hard to find your own freedom. And that leaves us with one last thought. The Buddha wasn't a god offering some kind of salvation from on high. He was a human being who pointed to a potential that's inside all of us. His diagnosis of the human condition and his prescription for it, well, they've resonated for thousands of years. The question for us is, what relevance does it all have in our modern, messy, complicated world?